And at 10, Reaper Mangle. Reaper Mangle is absolutely terrifying. Some may just be scary because of circumstance, but Reaper Mangle comes from Final Nights 3 and 4. But I want to focus on the Final Nights 4 version, okay, since that one is actually terrifying. The one from the third game just kind of looks like a Lego Duplo version of Mangle. In the fourth game, however, Mangle's face appears to be melted and decaying, as if it was chewing gum, but the gum was its face. And there is basically no exterior shell on this thing, except for the face. Slightly on the left arm, but oh my god. Honestly, you can only tell this is Mangle because of the name and the color scheme. Other than that, if someone looked at this only knowing Mangle by the appearance in FNAF 2, it would take them a little while before they actually realized who it was meant to be. The Reaper animatronics are terrifying, but they get far worse in Final Nights 4. And at 9, Chuck E. Cheese. No, I'm not kidding. Someone actually made Chuck E. Cheese canon in the FNAF world. I don't know what particular game he comes from, if any. I saw him on the FNAF RP fandom wiki page and just kind of cowered in my pants. He's just a recolored Freddy Fazbear and doesn't really have much other than a couple of images in the FNAF world, other than that, the one maybe, but like I'm sure you know what Chuck E. Cheese looks like, okay? Apparently, Chucky got sent to Freddy's as a guest star, but also started moving around at night. Well, since CEC, the parent company for Chuck E. Cheese, did file for bankruptcy, at least in part, this might actually come true, and if it does, if there is some form of FNAF Chuck E. Cheese crossover, I'm going to cry. There have also been reports of children going missing and animatronics moving after hours in Chuck E. Cheese locations, but these stories aren't true. And to anyone saying that the closed Chuck E. Cheeses should be redesigned into Fazbear locations, yes. Okay, you should go watch our videos, but also it may not be a good idea considering how many kids got stuff. But we made a whole video series about how they could do that. And at 8, Ignited Chica. Ignited Chica comes from the joy of creation, one of the most terrifying fan games ever. Scott's lucky that he didn't make this game, because if he did, nobody would play it out of sheer fear. Like, I don't know how horror junkies do it. Why do you like being scared? It's supposed to be a bad thing. Anyway, Ignited Chica is similar to the other Ignited animatronics, just a more decayed and run-down version of the original. And while Eddie may not be trying to get with this one, and I'm not really either, there is a clear reason why, okay? The jaw is gone, leaving only the top part of the beak and a load of exposed wire, okay? Half of her left arm is gone, and her entire right arm is gone, aside from like a little bit of endoskeleton, okay? And look at the feet. Like, oh man, Chica, like, I can see your wiki feet score going down already. Okay, honestly, it's probably not going down. There are people who are into some really weird stuff. Like, I'm not kink shaming. I mean, I make jokes about banging a toy animatronic regularly, but like, it's not weird to them. It's only weird to people with a conscience. Moving on! And at 7, Nightmare Glamrock Bonnie. Yet another set of animatronics without any Bonnie representation. The Security Breach Glamrock animatronics, from what we've seen in the trailers so far, don't have a Glamrock Bonnie. He really only appears as the mascot of bowling. However, fans here yet again made Glamrock versions of Bonnie, but those weren't really scary. So in classic FNAF fashion, if you want something to be scarier, you just throw Nightmare in front of it, and then boom, you have an unholy abomination that will eat your soul and devour your balls. Nevertheless, Nightmare Glamrock Bonnie looks exactly how you'd expect a Nightmare version of Glamrock Bonnie to look, with shoulder pads. That's the scariest part. And at 6, Reaper Balloon Boy. Reaper Balloon Boy looks terrifying in both Final Nights 3 and 4, the only games in which he makes an appearance. Luckily. But as I said with Reaper Mangle, Final Nights 4 is where the creep factor really gets dialed up to 12. His face is melting, and hell, even his balloon is showing endoskeleton, which totally blows my mind. And the propellers on its hats are just going nuts. The right hand of Doom got run over by a truck, and his left hand looks like me trying to use chopsticks. But like, at least you can tell that it's still Balloon Boy. Despite messed up attributes, I can't help but get weirded out by this thing. Like, I swear as I was writing this, I had the picture up next to me. I saw him move towards me and then back away as I moved my eyes back, okay? It was a horrifying experience, and I really need to make sure that I'm doing okay, because I swear he just he tilted his head now. Like, I get that his head is tilted to the right, but like, come on. And anytime I refer to direction, I mean from their point of view, okay? Because I learned my lesson with Bonnie. Halfway through into number 5, Bread Bear. Bread Bear is an animatronic coming from the Day Shift at Freddy series who was created by Dave by modifying a Fredbear suit. The character appears in Day Shift at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3. Bread Bear's appearance is oddly similar to Fredbear, albeit wider, I guess because of the gluten. He is a golden colored bear animatronic wearing a purple top hat and bow tie, and 2 black and white buttons on his chest. He has gray metallic eyes, thicker arms and legs, a squarish brown nose, small brown pupils, small white teeth, round ears, with the insides being a lighter shade of color, and a very circular shaped stomach with brownish shades scattered amongst it. He has rips around his feet joints and arm joints, and he appears for real when Dave modifies an empty Fredbear suit and unleashes it during the Sting operation on Friday, in which, depending on which route you took, it either attempts to kill Jack, dies, or it destroys the entire pizza joint and then sets itself on fire. And you know what? We love that. We love the chutzpah. That's the kind of tactics we need in this cutthroat animatronic world. In at 4, Ignited Foxy. Ignited Foxy is similar to normal Foxy, just with only a pelvis, thighs, a forearm, and a head. Relatable. Ignited Foxy comes from the joy of creation, the same as Ignited Chica, but Foxy is even worse. Normal Foxy already looks pretty torn up, considering how he's a pirate and all that, but the Ignited version is missing an ear and most of his flesh. Can I call it flesh? Should I be calling it flesh? I guess it's missing most of its shell casing. Both lower leg sections, his upper arm, his lower right arm, as well as his feet and chest are also missing, but the hook's still there. Gotta have the hook. Arrgh. He has to keep the hook. How else is he gonna make those 1,000-degree hook videos where he like puts it through like flowering foam and then carves your eye out? His eyes glow white, and honestly, I don't know if you'll love this Foxy as much as you'll love the normal Foxy after seeing this, because it's terrifying, like holy hell. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Nightmare Springtrap. Nightmare Springtrap is certainly a sight. Not for sore eyes though, no. If anything, this is going to make your eyes sore. However, every iteration of Nightmare Springtrap basically does the same thing. He gets the classic nightmare teeth, but the rest of him remains largely the same. Maybe he gets a slight change to his ears or his skull shape, but other than that, Nightmare Springtrap is mostly just regular Springtrap. The majority of people believe that Springtrap is already scary, and he already has most of the appearance of a nightmare animatronic, being one of the most destroyed characters in the games, and especially in FNAF 3. One version I saw had like eyes covering all of him, but for the most part he looked either Springtrap or just like a larger fetch, but still terrifying. Penultimately, in at number 2, Blank. The Blank animatronic from Five Nights at Candy's and Five Nights at Candy's Remastered is actually very unique in concept, no doubt being inspired by Mangle, I think though. He is a drawing attraction that is meant for children to write and draw wherever they want on his body. Over time, the animatronic was obviously withered down, and the withered version from the second game is where we'll be focusing for this number. Withered Blank is the most withered out of any of the animatronics. All of his suit parts seem to be damaged in one way or another. A large part of the left side of his head is gone, exposing his endoskeleton. His left forearm and right upper arm are missing their exoskeletons, and while his right forearm is completely gone, all suit parts below his knees are also gone, and there are 2 holes in his torso. One of the holes exposes an endoskeleton. His texture isn't even white anymore, rather more of a gray color, like the shirt you forgot to wash that just isn't the same anymore. Unless you use today's sponsor, I'm just kidding, we're not sponsored. Blank also can be seen unwithered in the first minigame, but he appears to be the same as he was in the first game, so yeah. But in Night 6 of the second minigame, the player also can see Blank's original appearance, which is actually kind of cool. It's a cool concept. And finally, in at number 1, Withered Glitch Trap. You can fight me all you want about my opinions on Springtrap, but there is no way that you can fight me on the fact that Glitch Trap isn't an animatronic. Firstly, he's just game code, with no real world equivalent aside from William Afton and I guess technically now Burntrap and Vanny. Secondly, he was literally just a suit. You can tell by the fabric, the different design to the Bonnie we all know and love, kind of, and the stitching around his joints. But this version of Glitch Trap, specifically this one, known as Withered Glitch Trap by Shadow Foxy on Amino, is designed to be an animatronic, therefore it counts for this list. This thing is terrifying. Like, I've always had a soft spot for Glitch Trap. I hate this thing because like it gives me creepy bear vibes, if you know what I mean, like the old uncle. You know, it's an old meme, but it checks out. Anyway, I hate these kinds of things. And the way that Glitch Trap just like stands there and waves and then slowly gets closer to you as the player while you're slowly picking up these the tapes, you're also playing as a child in that game, indicated by your height when you load up the game. It doesn't sit right with me, hence why I avoid picking up the tapes, because I know that it's going to summon him. Now, with all of that said and done, this version is actually worse. The actual withered appearance, along with the desaturation of the costume and the exposed endoskeleton, is just, it's too much for me, and I can't do this anymore. I'm done! And at 10, Grim Chica. The first Springlock victim in the Final Nights series, Grim Chica is a primary antagonist in Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. Unlike the others, she is not a Reaper animatronic. Grim Chica holds a strong appearance to the Springlock suit on the poster for the Night 3 cutscene, but her faceplates are very hard to spot. And she's also almost entirely purple. The glowing accents inside of her resemble a human corpse. She lacks a bib, unlike the original Chica. Her overall body is very slim, like the original toy Chica, except for her hips, which appear to be much wider for birthing purposes, and she lacks shoulders or upper arms, with her forearms protruding from her armpits. Grim Chica is also revealed to be a Springlock victim in the museum levels, saying, quote, "A victim of a Springlock failure, forever forced to haunt the suit she was wearing. Now being manipulated by your sister and mother. Tried spray on tan, still very pale." I relate to that. No matter what I do, I'll always be pale and pasty, okay? But I'm fine with that. However, while she is also a Springlock victim, she's in the suit that she was wearing, therefore she is a Springlock animatronic. Alright, so I'm like, come on. I mean, I'll also be like, what did you do to my girl Chica? Like, I'm sorry, Mommy Kentucky. I didn't mean to. These are transgressions. Keep my wife's name! And at 9, Grim Fredbear. Grim Fredbear is one of the antagonists of Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. He is only active on Night 5 and is found in the left hallway. Grim Fredbear resembles the normal golden Fredbear, only with his suit glowing a deep purple color while the interior of the suit glows a bright white. His upper face appears to be torn off, including his eyes, leaving an empty, hollow, gaping hole in its place. That sounded weird. The inside of the mask, though it appears like there is nothing inside, actually conceals a white, pale human head that can only be seen during his jump scare. And before you ask, yes, it's mine. This animatronic is clearly meant to be a reference to Shadow Freddy and the theory that these Shadow animatronics were Springlock victims, which is later confirmed by Scott to be false when stating that only William was a victim of a Springlock failure. But in the museum level of this game, which unlocks after Night 5, it is also revealed that Grim Fredbear is a Springlock suit, saying, quote, "Another Springlock failure victim, the second generation of Fredbear." And at 8, Golden Call. As a human when alive, Golden Call's name was Kyle. However, now he is a Springlock victim stuck inside a Golden Freddy Springlock suit. Golden Call has the typical run-down Springlock suit vibe, similar to Springtrap. However, this is much more gruesome. His left ear is bent, he has bugs coming out of basically every hole in the body, human eyes are hanging out of the animatronic's eye sockets, just dangling there, like my grandfather's tie. He's missing an exosuit on his right foot, and the character is holding a flesh-colored, at least flesh-colored, it might even be flesh-made phone in his right hand that stays stuck to his head via more flesh and blood strands connecting it. Yeah, it's gross. It's a monstrosity. And looking at the age on the wiki, Kyle was only 5 years old when he got spring-locked, which is absolutely just horrible. God, that sucks. That would be rough. I would be offended if that happened to me. Like, yo, I'm only 5. What did I do to deserve this? And at 7, the BOA. The BOA is basically like another form of Mangle, but this time hailing from the Dormitibus universe. I say this is Mangle-like because of the multiple heads and exposed endoskeletons connecting them all. The 2018 updated version is far more hectic than the original as well, but it just seems kind of smaller. I don't know why, but animatronics that can kill me by biting my ankles off just put me off in a different way when compared to something like Foxy or Dreadbear, who could crush me with a snap. Like the little Freddies and the plush trap and like the plush babies, no. And this thing doesn't make it any better, considering how it has 5 heads. The head of Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Mangle, Balloon Boy, and Toy Chica. Mommy, why? But it also has the hook from Foxy just chilling, ready to tear your face off and then lay eggs inside your brain. I don't know, okay? The story for Dormitibus is really messed up and I don't really quite understand it all. So I'm not sure what this thing is really going to do. And don't worry, this isn't the only Dormitibus animatronic on this list. Speaking of which, in at number 6, Garvey, a psychopathic, cold-blooded killer. He stopped being human long ago. That's how Garvey is described in the extras of Dormitibus, the game from which he hails. Garvey is the penultimate antagonist to Dormitibus, and as a human, he was a man who killed the missing children, and later went on to get trapped in Spring Bonnie, becoming Springtrap, and then was burnt to a permanent death in the Fazbear Frights fire. That's where these two differ, okay? Garvey is a much more gory version of Springtrap from FNAF 3, and one that actually dies. However, it is not William Afton, as this game was released before the name reveal, so even before FNAF 4. Springtrap, but with hardly any exosuit or animatronic casing, whatever you want to call it, right? He crawls on all fours, uses his left hand as a foot and his left foot as a hand, like some demon crab thing that I did not want in my life. Okay, like just look at this thing and tell me that it's right. You'll be lying. You're wrong if you think that this is okay. Halfway through into number 5, Nightmare entered. The beauty of Nightmare versions of animatronics is that they can really be anything. There are plenty of directions to go because everyone will consider different things to be nightmare fuel. Some are very clearly in the style of other Nightmare animatronics, you know, lots of sharp teeth, stomach mouths. Some are spider-like versions that are hunched over and wider than they are long. Some have more limbs or are combined with other animatronics like Baby or Funtime Foxy to create a unique nightmare appearance. You can lean more into the clown aesthetic, or you go a million miles north and do something that nobody else has done, but that's just nightmares. That's what makes this kind of thing fun. And in doing so, you make something that not even Scott himself would have thought of. And isn't that kind of beautiful? Even if all these versions are making my currently blue pants brown, it's kind of causing me to black out a little bit. Coming in at 4, Shadow Spring Bonnie. Shadow Spring Bonnie is one of the 2 primary antagonists of Final Nights 2. He is also one of the final animatronics in that game. Shadow Spring Bonnie resembles Springtrap, as to be expected when mentioning Springlock suits, and similar to Springtrap, he lacks the suit on his feet and has the majority of his right ear missing. But overall, he has rips, but is not really missing any limbs or parts at all, which is a stark contrast to the burnt animatronics from the first 4 nights of Final Nights 2. His face glows white, which is notable when he is in the hallway, but also gives him a more sinister appearance, and pushes the something supernatural idea that most of these animatronics have, well, the shadow ones at least. Like Shadow Bonnie from FNAF AR, okay? It's something like the Winchesters are gonna have to hunt. Well, Winchester. Shadow Spring Bonnie takes on the role of Burnt Freddy and Burnt Foxy on night 5. He is very fast, so the player must seal the vent quickly, otherwise they'll get jump scared, and he can also appear in the hallway. Never use the flashlight though, or you will get insta-gibbed. Also, if he appears in the hallway, inspect his face, okay? If he's twitching, close the door, then a rattling sound will let you know when he's left, but if he's not twitching, don't. Okay, the fact that you need to look at his face to actually like kind of focus on it just makes him worse, okay? I don't like looking at faces, okay? I'm an antisocial person. Getting close to the end in number 3, Havoc Freddy. What the f is this thing? Like, this thing has to be the most confusing form of Freddy that we have ever seen in any version of the game. St. Patty's Day Freddy, normal. Icicle Freddy, normal. What the hell is this? He looks like an even more canine version of Mangle with Foxy's arm in his mouth, holding a sign that says, "I look like a toaster with a slice of bread." And that's not a joke. I'm actually serious. He's holding an arm that is holding a sign that says that it looks like a toaster with a slice of bread. What? If the sheer confusion isn't enough to put you off, it's also missing an eye, even though it has another head attached to it, that it looks like the eyes were torn out of that too. Go find those eyes, my dude! Can you tell that this series of games is driving me crazy? Like, at this point, we've done more FNAF videos than I feel like anyone else on YouTube. There is over 450 FNAF videos in the playlist, and I've done the majority of them. I have done over a year's worth of FNAF videos. And ultimately, in number 2, you! Spoiler alert for a fan game, but if I say which fan game, I'm going to spoil it. So if you want to avoid spoilers, click array right now. You can probably just skip to the next number using the timestamps, okay? Alright. I'll give you a chance to do that, and okay, that's your chance. That's it. You're done. Okay. A Shadow Over Freddy's is a FNAF fan game created by Fiznom on Game Jolt. It was released on the 25th of April 2018, and since it was made by the same guy who's currently working on FNAF Plus for the Fazbear fanverse, you know it's bound to be good. The gameplay of Ace Off is a hybrid between the traditional point-and-click game and a free-roaming horror game. The player wakes up to find themselves with no memories in a black and white abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and is tasked with surviving 5 nights and escaping the restaurant. The player is given a different task each night that they must complete before 6 a.m. and without being attacked by any roaming animatronics, obviously. However, the ending to the game has you getting trapped in a Springlock suit and being left to rot, meaning that you are a Springlock animatronic, which is probably one of the scariest things of all, because I don't know you, but like I'd rather not get spring locked. It's also revealed that you then play as Afton, so It's kind of a fan character, kind of not. But like, it's a fan way of having it happen, alright? Good enough for me. And finally, in at number 1, Fred Trap. To be honest, I searched this up just for the hell of it, because like, originally, we thought that Afton was using the Golden Freddy suit to kill people, but there are actually Fredbear versions of Springtrap. Fredbear is exactly what you'd expect. Springtrap's look on a yellow Freddy animatronic. The designs are actually really well made, and honestly, scarier than normal Springtrap for me. And like, I don't know why. I guess like, for some reason, when I just think bears are scarier than bunnies. I wonder why. I think that Scott made William use the Spring Bonnie suit because of how scared Scott was of Bonnie, but that's just idle speculation. That's like my kind of headcanon. There are also even more rundown versions and even scrap versions of Fred Trap, which are already haunting when you don't think about the fact that it would still be William inside the suit being kept alive by the spirit of his dead son. Fred Trap is definitely one of the most strangely horrifying versions of Fredbear or any Springlock animatronic that I've seen. And that's pretty damn impressive. And at 10, Nightmare Funtime Freddy. Well, what did you expect? Of course, a Nightmare version of Funtime Freddy is going to be on this list. It's basically like a requirement for any animatronic list, because Funtime Freddy is probably one of the creepiest and weirdest versions of them all. Nightmare Funtime Freddy is what you'd guess, in essence a recolored Nightmare Fredbear, actually. Instead of Nightmare Freddy, which I guess is understandable, but the real gem comes from when they make the Nightmare version look like the classic, like, plastic toy look that the original Funtimes have. Because I don't know why, but for some reason the Nightmare aesthetic with like the toy look of the Funtimes just makes it absolutely horrifying from both fronts. At this point, I never want toys again, but I'm going to buy various pop figures. I also am going to have nightmares about this version eating other Nightmare animatronics. Like, I think he was doing it to save me, like a Glam Rock Freddy situation, but like still, okay, he could snatch me up without a fight. He could rip me in two. Nightmare Funtime Freddy, that's not where your teeth go. In at 9, Nightmare Baby. Originating in the fan game Baby's Nightmare Circus, I believe, or just being the basis for it, Nightmare Baby is pretty damn spooky. Being the likely originator for the stomach mouth present on the other Nightmare animatronics already made the thought of her as a nightmare terrifying, but throw in the classic Nightmare rundown aesthetic again despite being a plastic casing, like with Nightmare Funtime Freddy, and the countless sharp teeth in the animatronic mouth, this thing will make you see stars. Oh, and adding the Nightmare look to animatronics that can already move their face was bad enough, but thinking about it or actually seeing their face move and like reveal a Nightmare endoskeleton is even worse. In at 8, Nightmare Toy Chica. Nightmare Toy Chica is honestly what you'd expect from a Nightmare version of your favorite chicken robot. Not robot chicken, chicken robot. All the glory of Toy Chica with the horror of a nightmare, the countless sharp teeth, the stomach mouth, torn body even though they're a toy in plastic so it doesn't really make any sense, it should just be cracked. Exposed endoskeleton, you name it, she's got it. She's got it going on. And those without a beak are even worse than you'd expect. You'd expect that without the beak there would be less teeth, but no. In fact, they have the same amount of teeth and they're just ready to bite your head off. If anyone was going to have caused the bite of 87, it would be Nightmare Toy Chica, and not just because of the Ultimate Custom Night line, okay? That's a can of worms that we've already covered in multiple videos. And at 7, Am I Real? Am I Real, also known as Cake Bear, is presumably the primary and most recurring antagonist in Dormitibus. Am I Real has two different forms. His first form is Cake Bear. Cake Bear's design originated from the Save Him minigame where he delivered cake to children while a child is killed outside. He is also the predecessor to both Fredbear and Freddy Fazbear. Cake Bear is a brown bear animatronic that also acts as a Springlock suit that appears in most of the main Nights. Although they look slightly similar, the only similarities that he has to Freddy Fazbear is that they're both bears and they wear a top hat, are brown, and have blue eyes. That's about it. Am I Real's second form is Am I Real, and is a form that resembles Springtrap. This form has a green color much like Springtrap and contains human remains, because of course it does. His right eye socket has gotten bigger on the side and a big hole can be seen on the right side of his head. His top hat has received some withering on it as well, and his lower jaw is slanted and worn down. No longer circular like Cake Bear's. He has a sizable hole in the right side of his torso, revealing organs inside. Rips and tears also cover his arms, revealing even more human remains. He appears to be missing at least one finger on his right hand and is absolutely terrifying to look at. Of course, a decent amount of these are going to be from Dormitibus, because like, have you seen the Dormitibus animatronics? They're just horrifying. And at 6, Nightmare Toy Bonnie. I thought that the Nightmare versions couldn't get any worse, yet here we are. I remember someone commenting on the fan versions of Chica list saying that it was more like a fan versions of Toy Chica list, but the toy animatronics are just another version of the original, so it wasn't a different list. This is a monstrosity that needs to be banished to the depths of hell and then sent by Satan from hell to like the empty because he doesn't want to deal with it. I would understand why. Like, looking this thing up, I didn't expect to be as frightened as I was, but holy ever-loving crap, this shocked me. The toy aesthetic, again, just seems to make these versions worse. I don't know what it is. It's just like the toy animatronics as nightmares just make the absolute scariest versions of the characters. I don't get it. Like, if you have any theories as to why this is a thing, like maybe like a psychological or something, I don't know, leave it in the comments. Halfway through into number 5, Scrap Puppet. I don't know why, but every version of the puppet intended to be scary just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't have puppophobia, but it does. First, the Reaper puppet, which I talked about in the first Scariest FNAF animatronics list years ago, and honestly, it was the inspiration behind this video. And then the Havoc puppet from another video, and now we have the Scrap puppet. This was only a concept in fan art and doesn't actually appear in any fan game, but this wasn't the criteria, okay? This isn't top 10 scary FNAF fan animatronics that appear in games. No, it's fan animatronics. It's fine, although that is a good idea. No, it's just fan animatronics. And while some people may not be able to make a game for their creations, they can still draw them and give me nightmares for all of eternity. The particular image that I found has just like what looks like the beginning of a Scrap Puppet jump scare when you're salvaging them in FNAF 6, but obviously it isn't the actual game because the puppet was captured by Lefty. But this still sets me on edge with the tentacles coming off of it and like that creepy smile. Oh my god. And 4, Twisted Nightmare. The Twisted animatronics are probably the most horrific animatronics ever described. These buggers are disgusting and horrific and are only approachable when using illusion discs to make themselves look presentable. I get that. Combine that with Nightmare, who is the scariest nightmare animatronic from the games, and oh my lord, you have one hell beast. Twisted Nightmare is everything you want to avoid when creating something for kids. I can hardly put it into words, honestly. Like, I'm glad that there's pictures that can be shown, because I honestly don't know how to go about describing this. If Hell's Gates had opened and released the entirety of FNAF lore into real life, and then the Joy of Creation animatronics emerged, including not just the ones from the game, but literally every other animatronic from the series in an ignited form, and then they all merged and became Twisted, that's half of how this demonic monstrosity would have been created. It's wrong, I feel deceived, I feel sharp objects being stabbed into my flesh. Getting close to the end, into number 3, Reaper Spring Bonnie. Reaper Spring Bonnie, however, is the opposite of Shadow Spring Bonnie. This Reaper variant appears in Final Nights 3 and 4 and is an absolute monstrosity, but is definitely more terrifying in Final Nights 4, okay? He is 100% the scariest animatronic in those games. In essence, Reaper Spring Bonnie is a nightmare spring trap. He has sharp teeth and a very damaged and withered body. His suit is a dark yellow in color, he sports a big purple bow tie on his upper chest, kinda like Glitch Trap does, which is ironic given that this released first, I'm pretty sure. And like other Reaper animatronics, Reaper Spring Bonnie has a pair of hollow dark eyes, kind of like my ex. In Final Nights 4, however, his appearance is much more disfigured and gruesome, with sharper teeth, sharper claws, a different jaw, growths resembling kind of shoulder pads made of fungi, and a gooier appearance overall. He's also missing half of his right ear, kind of like Springtrap. I mean, like, that's kind of like a given at this point. Like, if you're missing half your ear, it's a reference to Springtrap. But oh my god, okay, this thing is more terrifying than Springtrap. Like, this is what Springtrap should have been. Or honestly, what I think a Nightmare Springtrap would look like I said. This is like a prototype burn trap in my eyes. Or like a melt trap, which is probably going to be the next iteration of Athens. Proto Trap, though, that's a good one. And ultimately, in number 2, Nightmare Glamrocks. Nightmare animatronics are designed to be the scariest versions of their respective animatronic. That's why there's so many fan-made versions, because while elements like rugged exosuits and stomach mouths are common, like I said before, you can really head anywhere. Same with scrap versions, especially with scrap versions. However, these nightmare versions are something else. Considering their pristine appearance in the trailers and promo images, well, with the exception of Chica, but there's a stark contrast between these two different versions. They seem to just have the ultimate nightmare aesthetic going on, and it's not even just because they look like plastic toy animatronics. Like, it's like this is like the step up from the nightmare toys. Like, I don't know what it is about these characters specifically. It makes me think some kind of way. Maybe it's because that Glamrock Chica is my bae, and now she's just horrifying even more. But again, that's kind of a kink. Like, I don't get it. Glamrock Bonnie isn't even a thing yet, and their Nightmare Glamrock version is scarier than their normal Nightmare version. I know that Bonnie got his own number. I wanted to reiterate, okay? Stay away from these if you can. And the reason these are higher is because it's a whole group of them. And finally, in at number 1, Hellmare. This was another animatronic that was recommended to me, this time in the comments of part 1 of alternate fan versions of Fredbear, and I can see why. The Hellmare version of Nightmare Fredbear is probably the absolute single most horrific FNAF-oriented thing I have ever seen. Like, I'm going to have to make a whole list about the Hellmare animatronics or something, because this is the absolute craziest shit that I have ever seen. How did I not know about these before? Hellmare Fredbear can only be described as a true nightmarish abomination from hell, and so the name is accurate. This thing had not one, not 2, but 3 separate mouths, 2 heads. But not only does it have 2 heads, those heads are reversed from one another. So the head on top and the one on the bottom, they spin 180 degrees, and you either get Nightmare or you get Nightmare Fredbear. Yeah, this dude is both animatronics combined. And I didn't even see that at first. Once I noticed it, I'll admit, I might have peed my pants a little bit, okay? Come on, 2 heads, 2 sets of 4-fingered hands, and half of these parts being Nightmare, and half of them being Nightmare Fredbear. Look, I'm not usually actually scared when it comes to these things. I play it up for the camera and for entertainment, and that's why I'm so, like, light and fluffy on camera. Like, yes, they're scary, but I'm not actually worrying about them. I'm not playing this up. This is probably going to actually give me nightmares. Like, what kind of hell-raising, sadistic motherfucker came up with this idea?